Light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz is set to face middleweight champion Israel Adesanya at UFC 259 on March 6, 2021. Yes, you heard me right. Israel Adesanya is going to move up and try to become a two-weight division champion. This fight can honestly go many different ways, but it seems like people are leaning towards Izzy winning the bout. Honestly, I don't blame them. Izzy is undefeated and looks like he's unbeatable. Jan and his supporters know that there's something special about Jan. He has a very good chance to beat the bender of styles. Jan has a secret weapon that he'll use at UFC 259. That secret weapon is knowing Izzy's game plan. Before we go further, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We do a weekly podcast and talk about breaking news in the UFC and MMA. There's another interesting weapon that Jan has that we'll give an honorable mention to: rope luck. Back in 2017, Jan took his dogs out for a walk through his regular hiking route. In the distance, Jan noticed that someone was standing still amongst the trees. A man standing in between the trees is weird enough, but Jan thought nothing of it at first. After some time, Jan noticed that person was still not moving. He approached the person slowly and realized that it was in fact a person who just hung themselves from a tree using a rope. This might be too much info. The reason why Jan thought they were standing was because the person's neck stretched so far that their feet planted on the ground. Not the best image. Even though the person was clearly deceased, Jan called the authorities to take care of the situation appropriately. When he was there, someone asked if he was going to take the rope with him. Jan was taken aback. Take the rope that the person used to hang themselves? Many cultures and people throughout time believe that the rope used to hang someone can bring good luck and prosperous health to those who touch it. This supernatural phenomenon could just be an old folks tale, or there might actually be something going on. The tool used to take someone from our dimension to the next might hold some sort of supernatural aura. Regardless, Jan decided not to take the rope. Rather, he left it there and has been touching it before every fight. Ever since then, he's won 8 fights and only lost 1. Maybe the rope is special, or Jan harnesses the power of the human mind, which has helped him achieve heights he has never reached before. Back to what really is Jan's secret weapon when facing Izzy in March: predictability. You might be asking me, are you serious? Izzy is a style bender. He will adapt his game plan and will beat Jan any way he thinks possible. Yes and no. There are limitations to what Izzy can do when facing Jan in this fight. Izzy is facing a fighter that's significantly bigger in all facets of the word. Jan is the tallest fighter Izzy has faced since Anderson Silva, who's also standing at 6 foot 2 inches. Jan is just not like anyone Izzy has faced before, from a physical level. Also, add to the fact, Jan has an awkward fighting style, combos, and entries. Izzy relies on being able to download his opponent's movements, and from there he'll set up traps and counters to put his opponent in a world of danger. The game plan for Izzy is pretty clear, and it will be difficult to see if he differs from it. Izzy will stay on the outside, pick his shots while countering any combos or blitz that Jan will attempt. If Izzy tries to change his approach to, say, staying in the pocket, countering, or clinching with Jan, we have seen Jan dismantle fighters and demonstrate an immense amount of power. Izzy, like most people, doesn't like to get hit, and I feel like he will stick to the game plan discussed previously. What does that mean for Jan though? He knows what Izzy's game plan is. Can he do anything about it? Jan can use a similar approach he had with Dominic Reyes, for instance. He can throw strikes to the head but mainly target the body and legs of his opponent. From here, he will be able to slow down his opponent and open up more opportunities to go for the finish. I personally don't think that approach would work the same on Izzy. Why? Mainly because Izzy is very elusive and is able to stay disciplined enough to not get into a firefight. Let me give you a game plan scenario for Jan. How about you give Izzy the least amount of information as possible in the fight? Jan can go in there and stay at range with Izzy. He can do his best to avoid calf kicks and rangy shots from Izzy while throwing a couple himself. When you blitz at Izzy, throw minimal amount of strikes, and every time you do, variate on what strikes you throw. Blitz forward and throw a left body kick to a cross, or throw 2 body shots and immediately escape. Do you get my point? Jan has to embrace the awkwardness that he possesses and fry Izzy's computer chip. Jan wants to close the distance and allow himself to play to his advantages, which are power and precision. In previous fights for Jan, you can see he isn't as traditional of a fighter as many think he is. He demonstrates confusing patterns and entry points that catch his opponents off guard. Fighters like Dominic Reyes, Luke Rockhold, and Corey Anderson were unable to crack the code. Jan can further confuse Izzy by dictating where Izzy moves and how. Jan will look to set up his own traps because he knows Izzy will not want to close the range, especially in the early stages of the fight. Cutting off the cage and throwing selective strikes can result in Jan leading Izzy into a specific direction. This would be where Jan would throw a brutal body kick at Izzy, who will have a much harder time to dodge it. The last thing that Jan can take advantage of is knowing when and how Izzy counters. Izzy, as of late especially, will set up traps for his opponent. He will keep his hands low and have his chin super high. This invites his opponents into trying to strike his head, but little do they know, Izzy has no intention of eating a head strike. Izzy will move his head out of the way and return counters. Jan has shown in other fights that he is primed to be hit in a similar situation, where he is planted and open for counters from his opponent. This is a huge hole that Izzy will look to expose, but I believe Jan is fully aware of this. Izzy has finished opponents in very similar fashion. Why would you expect anything different to happen? When in a situation where Izzy has his hands down, I would like to see Jan go for the body strike rather than the head. If Izzy eventually defaults into trying to trade with Jan, it's either time to grapple while striking from the clinch or intelligently picking your shots. Jan has a real chance to win this fight, and he will have to do his homework for him to come out the winner. It's difficult for me to get a feel of what he is doing during his camp, because most of his interviews are done in Polish. I do get a feeling that Jan will utilize his high fighter IQ and his team to go in there different than any of Izzy's opponents have. I guess we will find out what happens in March.
Namely, Israel Adesanya is moving up to 205 pounds to challenge Jan Blachowicz for the title, which is just massive news. We can't not talk about that.
You're absolutely right, and I'm glad. Excuse me. I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. It is huge news. I saw Izzy Friday night. I drove into Vegas for my COVID test, and there he was getting his. So we had a little chat there, and he said he was just with Dana. Never told me that news, but then Dana broke it at the post-fight press conference. Huge fucking fight. Got to respect the balls on Jan Blachowicz for taking that fight, because right now Izzy looks incredible, right? That last fight against Costa was sensational, and as I've said a million times, for the person moving up in weight, there's no risk. If he loses that, he's still the champ at 185. No, he's still the champ at 185.
Yes, but there's risk for Izzy with part of his esteem being him being undefeated. Being undefeated, especially in today's day and age where people are moving up, moving down, left and right, fucking
correct,
east, west, different times. Okay,
but as a guy, and you are correct, Lewis, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've got to say this. As a guy that used to be the champ, trust me, the real cream of the real cherry on top of the pie is the belt. Having that belt around your waist earns you a lot of money. It opens a lot of fucking doors. So you're right, the undefeatedness and all the rest of it, that's great. But you want to remain the champion of the world for as long as you can. A, because of prestige. B, because you worked your entire fucking life to achieve that. And C, because you earn a fortune. It will change your life and potentially your children's lives. You know what I mean? Or even your grandkids if you're Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying? So there is a big risk there for Jan Blachowicz, because Izzy isn't risking that same thing, and Adesanya is already the favorite. And I gotta say, that fight, if you look at it, it's speed versus power, right? Blachowicz certainly has more power, but Adesanya doesn't even only have the speed. He probably has the technique. He has the speed. He's the favorite. He's undefeated. You know, it's a tough fight for Jan Blachowicz. That's why I respect him so much for taking it.
Yeah, but look, in a weird way, I understand why he takes it as well, because Izzy is such a star. He's on the rise right now. I think, beating Dominic Reyes, while it's great, especially the way that he did it, considering the fact that a lot of people thought that Dominic Reyes beat John Jones, I think that having John Jones vacate that title left just a little bit of like, okay, it's not really the title yet. We got to have some time on it. It feels like an interim title. It doesn't feel like it's the real deal title. John Jones is truly the champion at 205. Having Izzy, who has all this heat coming in, I get why Jan goes, fuck it, I can get that heat, I can get that steam. If I beat him and I'm the first guy to beat Israel Adesanya, well, that whole big fucking plan about Israel versus John Jones, this is all a setup for this whole fight is a setup for Israel versus John Jones.
Oh, of course.
Well, I get to play spoiler to that, and now I get to fucking make my name as the dark horse of 205, the guy that wasn't even supposed to fucking be here.
Well, could you imagine if Izzy does beat Jan Blachowicz, then he becomes a double champ, which of course in itself is massive. But not only that, he has John's old belt, right? So that is the ultimate shit talking ground. You know what I mean? He can dangle that carrot in front of John old. Okay, I'm the champ now.
If you like the video, make sure you press a thumbs up. If you want more, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this and a podcast talking about the latest news and events in MMA. What do you think about Jan's secret weapon? Do you think he has any chance in this fight? Let us know and start a discussion in the comments below.